Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Competitive Speed Series. And, well, 24 hours ago, I was on your screens for PC, and, well, 24 hours later, and one disqualified team later as well. It's time for Console's turn to take to the Circuit of the Americas to qualify for Competitive Speed Series Season 5. 21 teams to qualify, and, well, it is going to be a pretty chaotic, a pretty good night, no doubt about that one. I've forgotten to put myself on Do Not Disturb on Discord. It's always the age-old one that I forget every time. But we are here. It is the start of Season 5, and, well, alongside me in the commentary box, it's Dom. Once again, how are you?
I'm doing good. Very excited for Season 5 of Console to get underway. Some it is console and not separate PlayStation and Xbox like it was last season, but very excited to get the show on the road. We've got 4 lobbies today, one which is starting in 2 minutes time, and then the final one starting at 9:30 UK, I believe. So yeah, very excited. How are you, Byron?
Yeah, no, I'm really good, thank you. And, well, it's going to be an absolute brilliant time tonight. We have got such a good grid. We've got Lobby 1, as Dom pointed out, coming hopefully quite soon. And we've got some good teams across the board competing tonight, hopefully for a place on the grid. Obviously, ETA have also qualified due to their last season being P1 in the championship quite easily. But you've got TF10 here tonight. You've got plenty of big name teams as well. NLR, IRT. You've got Bunga Racing team as well signed up, as well as Shazoo as well. So we've got some good teams here competing tonight, and well, we're only a couple of moments from getting the lobby underway. And once we do get the lobby underway, it's going to be hopefully a really good qualifying night.
Absolutely. In Lobby 1 here today, we have got 5 teams, those of which are FGE, Shazoo, EVR, TIE, and IET, of which 4 of those teams competed last season, all of them in Xbox, funnily enough. So, will some of them return? Byron, what are your predictions for Lobby 1? Who do you think will qualify out of these 5 teams?
I expect Shazoo definitely to qualify. I'm not sure about the rest. I don't know a huge amount about any of the other teams in this lobby, but it'd be interesting to see what they are able to deliver tonight. But definitely keeping a firm eye on Shazoo. You would expect them to be the pace setters tonight, and if they aren't, something's either gone really wrong for Shazoo or really right for another team. So it'll be really interesting to see what we've got going. But it does appear we are going into qualifying now. So let's take you trackside now. Circuit of the Americas has never looked so good as Console now tackles for the very first time the Circuit of the Americas here to begin qualifying for the 5th season of Competitive Speed Series, and the sponsor boards have made their way to Console.
Absolutely. I think our sponsors this season are Grid Finder and Sim Racing Centre, if I remember correctly off the top of my head. So thank you for them too for sponsoring Season 5. Once again, we could see some drivers already coming out into the pits, that including the Haas of VK20KS, Sem F1 for FGE, and Quantum for Shazoo, Morga for the Red Bull. I can't remember exactly what team Red Bull is. I think that's IET. And only 3 teams are yet to go out just yet, but it is very important to get as many runs in these qualifying sessions as you possibly can. Of course, every single lap counts to make sure you qualify. Only 9 spots actually on the grid this season after, as you mentioned earlier, Byron, ETA automatically qualified due to winning the championship last season, but 9 spots available for tonight, so quite excited to see which 9 teams will make it.
Indeed, and NVR Gabor is the man leading the outlaps so far as he's building up towards the end of this hot lap. And well, if last night is anything to go by, there is going to be a lot of there will be some teams that don't do as expected, but there will also be teams that set absolutely blistering and dominant lap times. But NVR Gabor going to kick off proceedings now as he rounds the final bend and begins the very first flying hot lap of their campaign here in what hopefully will see them through and qualifying here. But plenty of drivers crossing that line now as VK20KS has crossed the line there for well, it's very difficult to know which team's which. I need to remember and refresh my mind as we go through qualifying. But, well, NVR Gabor now going through that Sector 1. It's obviously a purple Sector 1, but not a bad-looking sector for them as now they head into the heart of Sector 2 and soon to be on that long, long DRS straight.
Absolutely, NVR Gabor is the first one on track, but it's now going into the very long straight. A decent Sector 1 so far, I would think, but still got the rest of the lap to go the straight. We need to make sure you set the car up perfectly for this next little section of corners. It's very, very difficult, these next couple of corners, to stay on the limit, but of course stay within the track limits as well. It's a 1 minute .6 Sector 2 split. For Gabor, of course, his name says NVR, but he's driving for Team Shazoo this evening after... I don't actually know what happened to NVR, but I haven't seen them drive anywhere for a little while. But NVR Gabor now coming through the final 2 corners here. What lap time will it be for the Shazoo man, currently driving in the Alpine for this qualifying session? Now rounds the final corner, uses as much of the track as possible because the DRS, and it's a 30.0 for the Shazoo man. Haas follows closely behind him. So an Alpine, his teammate gets a 30.2 with a McLaren of Sem comes back into the pits. So next across the line will be Aston Martin. That will be Liam Hardman for TIE team. Coming across the final corner now and opens the DRS one final time. A little bit snappy on the exit, but it's a 30.831 for Liam Hardman.
Indeed. Now Typical comes across the line, slots into third. Then there is next up a Red Bull. That's Morgay and Paulos there for Aston Martin. I'm just bringing up everything, and that was the other TIE as well as that was IET there with their other car just coming across the line. You've got Merman, who I believe has just started a hot lap. He might actually be on an in lap. He may have invalidated in the final corner on the exit, by the seems of it, because he is going quite slowly and didn't set a lap time, so must have been validated right at the death of that one. But Sem is coming out already for FGE. He's back out onto the track, new set of tyres, and well, didn't get a valid lap time on so far. Now got another opportunity to try and get a valid lap time on now.
Absolutely. Now going on to his out lap, we can see already only 6 times so far set. The rest of the drivers have not set times yet, of which Sam, VK20KS, Paul Matzi, and Kevin's have not set laps. So both EVRs haven't set laps, nor has one FGE and one IET, but we can already see Sam out of the pits, should I say, on his out lap, trying to set up his tyres, warm them up as much as possible. But it is Shazoo 1-2 currently, and absolutely dominating so far, ahead of Typical, who is, I think, 6/10 back if my maths is correct, followed closely behind by Liam Hardman and Pavlos, both TIEs, and Morga with a 31.901. So, still 12 minutes left to go, so make sure to stay tuned to see how the rest of the teams go with their laps.
Indeed, and Sam at the moment going around on his out lap, and will be hoping to deliver a good result here for the team as well. FG would like to definitely qualify here and get themselves into that top 9 spots there, with which we'll go through. So now a hot lap beginning here for Sam, as heading up the hill and into Sector 1. And this Sector 1 has that iconic section here, and it's really difficult to get this right lap after lap. Very easy to invalidate, get a warning, and just push the limits a bit too much through there, but nicely taken. But oh, not so nicely taken through turns 7, 8, and 9, as he's invalidated going up there as well on turn 10. So Sem was looking like it could have been a good lap, but it did not pan out that way in the slightest, as well the driver has unfortunately invalidated that particular occasion. Next up, who is next on a lap? There is a Shazoo driver on an out lap at the moment, but VK20KS is on a hot lap at the moment and trying to do what they can to try and get EVR into this contention, and not doing a bad job at the moment. So round the final sector now, a double right-hander to come, and you really got to be careful on that apex. If you hug it a bit too much, you can go around there through that sequence if the rear end isn't quite stable enough, but nicely taken through the final couple of corners. This is a good and crucial banker to get onto the board. If you don't get a lap time, you get given a 1 minute 40, but it's a 1:30.723. That's not a bad lap time at all for VK20KS.
Yeah, as you said, pretty decent lap to set things off, of course. 10 minutes left in the session. His teammate, on the other hand, is coming around the line now. He gets set a 31.207, so it's not looking the best for them so far. But of course, as I said earlier, 9 minutes left of the session. Still yet to go. FRT Typical, I think, just starts a lap as well, as Gabber actually invalidates on Sector 1, so I think that's the second run's pretty much complete. Still Shazoo 1-2 in dominant fashion, ahead of, this time, EVR Man VK20KS. So it's an Xbox 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Oh, Xbox towards the top of the times at the moment, but Quantum, the man on your screen at the moment for Shazoo, is not doing a half bad job at all as he's going through Sector 1 into Sector 2, and in this Sector 1 he was improving by a decent margin, so can he keep that going forward now into that third and final sector? No, he's invalidated there. I saw an Aston Martin go off in the background, I think I saw slightly, but that's Liam Hardman there, who's going through that third and final sector. Really interesting to see the different line that some drivers take into turn, I think it is turn 15 there. They can really take sometimes slightly different lines. Final couple of bends now for Liam Hardman, and he's invalidated as well. Not many drivers getting a good lap time on the board here, but now Typical wants to try and take back that third place if he can. Can he manage it? He does indeed. Still 4 tenths back from Quantum, but back up into third.
Absolutely. Typical setting a lap 30.6. I think just behind him is the Aston Martin TR Pavlos. He's on a slight improvement. Now rounding the final corner here. You have to brake as late as you possibly can. Use as much of the track on the exit as you possibly can. Opens the DRS. It's a 10th improvement, but it's still only a 30.994. Both the Red Bulls now coming across the line. Polymazzi gets a 30.7 with McLaren just behind him. I think that's Sem who's just beginning his lap. So that is a couple more laps done now. We can see both Shazoo's still in the pits currently. As I say that, Gabber actually comes out of the pits. His teammate Quantum is still stacking in the pits, so I think they're quite confident with their chances of qualifying so far. As I saw in the chat, some of you saying that Shazoo is already guaranteed to qualify, and I have to say, I pretty much have to agree with it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But Shazoo is a team that, as I said, right, if they don't look good, everybody else has pulled a blinder, and if they are looking good, you know, that's exactly what's expected of them, right? You know, if they weren't on the pace, it would be a testament to other teams and not necessarily a sign that Shazoo isn't a good team. Shazoo are such a well-established and competent team that you expect them to always be up there towards the top. But Sem is trying to absolutely hustle and harry the car around the lap for FGE here, trying to get a good spot on the grid. Typical currently in third, and at the moment Sem is not doing a bad job at all. 2 green sectors so far in this lap. What can he now manage as he comes around the final couple of bends here, and that lap time at the bottom is the time of Gabor. As round the final bend he goes fourth. That's pretty much where he'd want to be. Nicely there with his teammate. A decent lap time and a decent run. A lot of confidence can be carried into that third and final run now.
Absolutely. 5 minutes left in the session. FGE in third and fourth with a pretty good average. Not sure if it's going to be enough to qualify, but we've still got 3 more lobbies to go after this. So I guess we'll just have to wait and see anyone on a lap. I think Gabber is the first one to start a lap, as he invalidates after setting a purple sector 1. So we'll focus on his teammate Quantum, so far starting his first lap, now going through the famous S's, as he's on the absolute limit through this series of corners, 600ths of a second up, so minimally up, but with their lap times being so good, I don't know if there's much room for improvement, if I'm going to be completely honest with you. Now passing into this large braking zone all the way down to gear 3, cut as much out of that curb as possible. Now go onto this straight here, use a bit of your ERS, and now open the DRS further along in the straight now to set up the car as well as you possibly can. Going into this series of corners, of course, very, very technical through here. Uses as much of the apex curve as he possibly can. It's a purple sector 2 for the Shazoo man, hold 2 tenths up on his previous lap. So now going through into this very difficult left-hander, which I personally had loads of struggles going through, but now going through this flat out right-hander, use as much of the curbs as possible and use the downforce that your car has to carry as much speed as you possibly can. Now going into the final corner here, what lap time is it going to be for the Shazoo man? Is it going to be in the 29s or is it going to be in the 30s? It's a 29.839 full quantum. What a beautiful lap for the Shazoo man, and that has to seal qualification for Shazoo, hasn't it?
That absolutely has to. That is what a insane lap time that's just come there. But Kevin's about to come into the pit lane. I thought he might set that lap time, decided against it. We have just two drivers on the racetrack at the moment, and one's on an in lap, one's on an out lap, and about to begin a flying lap time is Paulos here, and massive GG's, because Shazoo, you've pretty much got to say, have now almost certainly qualified there, but IET are looking to try and see if they can qualify here, as now Paulos begins a hot lap here into Sector 1 through that S section. How much speed does he dare carry?
Absolutely, going through these S's. We have seen multiple drivers so far mess up, but of course we will see many more to come throughout the rest of this session. Now going through the slower parts of the S's now. Use as much of the speed that he's carried to go through into this harsh braking zone. Use as much of the curb as he possibly can as well. Make sure not to invalidate through there, but uses ERS and now opens the DRS as well. Now going through this very, very long straight, the longest straight on this track. Now going into this final corner, brake just before the 100-meter board. Now cut as much of the curb as possible. Pavlos cuts a bit too much of the corner, which means he invalidates his lap after being 2 whole tenths up. So that might be his session over, which means TIE might not qualify with that time. But of course, still got 3 lobbies to go, so anything can happen in this qualifying night.
Absolutely, and there's an opportunity for him to back off ever so slightly, and possibly... We saw this yesterday, someone go into the pit lane, 2 minutes left on the clock. They just about managed to change the tyres, come back out, zoom around, and cut every corner in existence and made it. So just because he's not made it at the moment doesn't mean he's not going to have enough time. But really interesting to see what's going on here, as now the final flying hot laps are about to get underway, and there's not enough time to get around for a hot lap. If you're leaving the pit lane now, like Quantum has just done, just left the pit lane now with 1:20 on the clock. That's really peculiar choice there, but Liam Hardman is making the choice to go out nice and early on in this session, as Paulos obviously retires there. And now into Sector 1, Liam Hardman nicely taking this S section so far. Really looks in control of the car through there, as he will look to try and take TIE into qualification. If he can set a good improvement here, just because his teammates not had a good lap, he's not had a good lap himself as he's invalidated. Commentator's curse coming out nice and early here. And now our attention turns to the next driver on the track, which is VK20, and guess what? He's invalidated as well. Is there anyone who's not going to invalidate? Gabor isn't invalidating. He's on an improvement at the moment.
Bubble Sector 1 for the Shazoo man. Now going into the second sector here. Doesn't use as much of the apex as is ideal, which means he might have lost a little bit of time going through there, but doesn't really stop him now, as he's using a lot of the off track, I think that's called. Anyway, brake just before the 100-meter board. Now going into the Sector 2 split. Now what sector split is it going to be? It's 2 tenths up. It's a 1 minute point 410. Now going through this tight and tricky corner. Make sure to carry as much exit speed as you possibly can. Now going into this very long right hand, of course. Flat out through here, stay in gear 6. I'll move up to gear 7, shift down once, and now setting the car up perfectly for the final corner. He goes down to gear 3, and now has to use as much of his ERS. A little bit slurdy on the exit, but it's 29.8 for the Shazoo man. Stem comes in just behind with a 30.4, his teammate with a 30.6, and Polymatzi is still behind, but still got TF10 Kevin's now rounding the final corner here. It's 31.0 for Kevin's here. Now the last one to finish a lap is Polymatzi, and he has invalidated. What about his teammate though? He hasn't invalidated. He's on a 5/10 improvement now going through the final couple of corners, now going into the final corner, in fact. Use as much of the track as possible, sends it through there. A little bit slidey on the rear, and it's a 30.8 for the Red Bull man. So, Shazoo 1-2 so far, both with 29.8. Byron, what do you make of that first session?
Well, petty for the thoughts of Shazoo, absolutely dominant by them, and a good chance for the McLaren team of FGE to qualify there, because they weren't that far off, 6/10, 7/10 respectively, so average that out about 6/10 off what Shazoo qualify. If Shazoo are going to be a top running team, then 5-6 off of that isn't too bad. But yeah, Shazoo definitely standout team. Their FGE not looking bad, and then a really close bit of a pact there from FGE down, but Shazoo absolutely dominant, absolutely brilliant. Everything they would have wanted going into it, I think. So lobby 1 done and dusted. Shazoo definitely, absolutely the standouts there.
Yeah, pretty much guaranteed qualification for the Shazoo guys. So congratulations to them. FGE, we've still got 3 sessions to go, so quite interested to see how they do. But of course, going to be getting ready for Lobby 2 now, as invites have just gone out from the lobby host. So quite excited to see how Session 2 goes. We can take a look at some of the teams in Session 2 once I get it up on my phone here. The teams in Session 2 will be VMV, DLX, TF10, XPG, AMR, and F1AF. So 6 whole teams, which I think is the most of any lobby that we have this evening, should I say. But I have to say, standouts of that lobby look to be TF10. What do you think, Byron?
Yeah, TF10, but then also VMV, DLX. Both of those have been in competitive speed series in the past, so you know there's a lot, that can happen within this. So it'll be really interesting to see what's gonna conspire here. I'm just waiting for a invite from the lobby host, and then we'll be pretty much good to go, I would have thought, quite nicely and easily.
Absolutely. I don't know if the spreadsheet has been quite updated yet, but I'll actually have a look at that. See if it has been updated yet.
It has indeed. It's got all of them on.
Oh, well, there you go. Whoever the spreadsheet person is, they've done a pretty good job. So currently it's Shazoo, who've got the highest average, with an average of a 29.848. The closest team behind them is, in fact, FGE, with a 30.5, so that's ages back. A whole 7/10 behind for FGE, but Shazoo, that's pretty much guaranteed qualification for them, in my opinion.
Oh, absolutely. But was that not the target for them? Was that not what was expected for Shazoo? You know, this is exactly what you would have wanted to see going into it if you are anyone at that team. So yeah, brilliant job from them. But this lobby that we've got coming up, a lot of drivers that are very, very familiar. You know, and very, you know, been in teams that have been in competitive speed series before. So really interesting to see kind of what is going on here. Familiar teams, but a couple new faces as well. I don't think I've ever seen AMR or F1AF. I know of XPG. So 6 teams, and you know, as you say, we pretty much know we've got one team auto-qualified. We've got another one that we very much expect to have qualified, so you can pretty much make that down to 8 guaranteed teams, no, 2 guaranteed teams, so 8 spots left to fight for. You would have thought TF10's absolutely going to be taking one of those. So 7 spots left, and I'm looking at the kind of order that we've got. I expect NLR to qualify, but anybody else is a bit of a kind of unknown, I'd say.
I have to say BRT have to qualify. Same with OVR. I say we'll have a good chance to qualifying. FRT and IRT as well. What are the teams? AMR I think could be dark horses. We saw them being dark horses last night on PC. They surprisingly qualified. But AMR, they have got some decent drivers within their ranks, so they can be dark horses here. And although I'm not expecting them to qualify, I expect them to do pretty well. F1AF, never heard of, if I'm going to be completely honest with you. But I think from this lobby, TF10 pretty much have to qualify. Of course, second place last season in CSS behind ET8, who have automatically qualified for this season. XPG also last season on Xbox. They possibly have a chance of qualifying if they get both drivers to do absolutely stellar laps as well. But the lobby is being populated now. We've still got 5 minutes left to go. So, Byron, out of lobby 2, who do you think will qualify?
At lobby 2, TF10, I'd say possibly AMR again. And my long shot is going to be XPG. I don't know much about the team, but I just have a gut feeling. Now, I've just had a little look at the spreadsheet that we've got for tonight's qualifying and for yesterday's. And if Shazoo were to have qualified yesterday with the times that they've just done, they would have been second in the PC lobby as well. And not even that far off. Just 900, I think it's 900ths off TF10 from yesterday. So really interesting to see the gap really not being that big, even when you compare between console and PC. Shazoo have absolutely come out the chopping blocks with all the pace and performance. And what a good start it is for them. Obviously, maybe it would have been third had a team not been disqualified, interestingly, in some somewhat controversial circumstances. But lobby 2 on its way, and looking forward to this one because it got a good few teams in, and even those who aren't properly in it, they're in the hunt.
Absolutely. I think 12 drivers we're anticipating today to join, but as we wait for this lobby to get set, we can actually take a look at who qualified from PC. So obviously, FVR did automatically qualify due to winning the championship last season after a tight championship battle with Team TF10. Team TF10 actually did qualify first yesterday, followed by NLR and VRM as well, which I haven't seen as a team in a little while. ET8 just behind them, Aversio as well qualify. Thomas Engay Sim Racing qualify as well. TTM as well just behind them. And the surprise package of last night, AMR managing to qualify, which I don't think anybody was expecting. I did see something on Twitter about someone making their predictions, and none of them decided to pick AMR to qualify, but they somehow managed to qualify, which quite surprised about. So quite excited to see how they do throughout the season. And ABS finally take that final spot, as CPI, of course, did get disqualified last night. But lobby is populating now. I think we're just waiting for one driver, of which... Who's that? Waiting for one VMV to join. There you go, yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking at the drivers that we've got for this lobby as well. You've got, I believe that's Tony O'Shea for TF10. You've got Rayan as well for TF10. So very strong lineup there. I'm seeing if there's any other familiar names. I don't see any familiar names, but sometimes it's all the unfamiliar names that really do catch you out. So just waiting for one more driver.
Yeah, as you said, TF10 showing a strong lineup with Ryan and Tony Richey for both drivers, as we have had the final driver come in. So you can see what the lineups are looking like. VMV have got Noski and Indian. The McLaren, who I think is XPG, have got Jacob Bowser and Josh. Amar have got Carrasco, and Alex Lofer. F1AF have got the Granite Dada and Jeremiah 110, and DLX have got Antonio Jesus and Kalu Blue, but that is everyone in the lobby. So we're just waiting for the signal from the lobby host to go, which we have just received from Ace. So the lobby's now getting started, so make sure to stay tuned. We've still got 3 lobbies to go after this, as we are on time for this evening, which is pretty good.
Hey, nothing. Always good to be nice and on time. In fact, we're even a couple. I thought we were a couple minutes early, and then I looked at the clock on my PC, and it said different from what I had in my brain. But yeah, no, really interesting to see. Already, most of the lobby readied up now. Everyone got the memo nice and easily. So yeah, nice and on time, and into what will be the second lobby of 4. And well, TF10 definitely going to be the team that I think everyone's expecting to top that this qualifying session. But will they be able to beat Shazoo? Obviously, it's qualifying, so it's not necessarily the most important if you're top of the timesheets. But the bragging rights do mean a little bit to these teams, so they're going to want to be P1. Even if it doesn't really mean that much to them.
Absolutely, as well. Car picks, whoever qualifies first tomorrow does get first pick. Actually, no, ETA gets first pick, doesn't they? ETA get first pick tomorrow, but whoever qualifies first tonight will get second pick, if that makes any sense. So, of course, getting the best car is important for some of these teams. So they can extract the most as possible. Of course, still a little bit of controversy with equal cars, which hasn't properly been fixed since the start of the game, but we can see going trackside now, some of the teams now coming out. The first one to come out, in fact, is a Red Bull, which is occupied by Tony Richey, the first one coming out of the pits. So he'll be leading the way on the first runs, followed by a V-carb of, I believe that is Alex Lofer, who's currently ghosting with no ski, but I think VMV have got a decent chance to qualify, of course. Indian is a pretty decent driver from what I remember. No ski, I haven't really heard of, but they can be dark horses in this lobby, so just keep an eye out for them, of course. TF10 as well, not to be biased here, but I do believe they will qualify with flying colours here today. Not sure if they will be able to top Shazoo, but I have my hope in the boys, and I hope they bring it home for us in first place. But we can see some drivers now going around, warming up their tyres and making sure that everything is up to speed with their setups and whatever else they need to have set up.
Indeed, it's going to be interesting to see what TF10 can muster in this lobby, and well, what are they able to do here as now Tony Richey is set to get his first flying lap time in this qualifying session underway, and it'll be interesting to see what he's able to deliver for the team. as I'm sure you know, Dom, TF10 such just like Suzu, a well-established team with so many good drivers, proven talent, potential, and development. They really do have it all. And now Tony Roche will begin proceedings here for TF10 and get their season underway. They are not expected to fall short of the mark here tonight. It's a case of, can they beat Shazoo? That is kind of maybe the one question mark that they might like an answer to, but we're going to find out over the next next about 15 corners or so, as Sector 1 time obviously goes purple for Tony Roche. Now into Sector 2, and handled very nicely and beautifully here from him. Is now down the hill into the hairpin and onto the long straight here. And it's about picking up a balance between your downforce levels here. Really crucial that you get that right, because if you aren't getting that downforce level just spot on, you are going to either lose time on the straight or lose time in the corners, and getting that balance is just so difficult every single time. But Sector 2 timing line crossed, and at the moment as he crosses it, it's a 1 minute 0.854, so not bad at all there. As now he will go through this third and final sector, and just a few corners remaining of his first blast around this beautiful undulating circuit here. And well, what will it be for the TF10 man, as around that final bend he goes up to the line now? What can he muster? It's a 1:30.511. Maybe not quite what he would have expected, but a decent benchmarker time, as Alex Loafer goes absolutely blitzing to the top.
I'm quite surprised with that time from Alex Loafer. Was not expecting to see AMR. Did, of course, pit them as dark horses earlier in the little intermission break, but was not expecting to get them a 30.1 banker lap. But it's really dependent on his teammate here to see what they can do. AMR Carrasco, he needs to set a good lap, because of course it is decided on average, not on the best time you set. So if Carrasco gets in the 32s, not going to be a good chance for AMR to qualifying. But TF10 Rayan did come into the pits after his first lap, as AMR Carrasco comes in with a 30.715, which might possibly mean qualification come the end of this session. So pretty decent so far for AMR. Dark horses, as I mentioned earlier, if we look further behind, Antonio Jesus, I think will be next to cross the line, and followed by Indian. So let's take a look at Antonio Jesus as he comes through the final sector here. Now rounding into the final two corners, both left-handers, and both the first one high speed, the second one quite slow, but uses as much of the track on exit as you possibly can. Open to DRS. For one final time, it is a 32.050 for the DLX man. Indian will be next to cross the line now, rounding the final two corners himself. A little bit slidey out of that one, but shouldn't really be anything to worry about now coming out of the final corner. Crosses the line. It is good enough for P5 with a 31.138 for the VMV man.
Yeah, really good start to proceedings for VMV as well as AMR. Really good start for both of those teams, actually, in this qualifying session. Already some jokes being made about an offer from TF10 is going the way of Alex Loafer after tonight. Interesting statement, but stranger things have happened in this community, no doubt about that one, as Rayan is on an outlap, and well, hopefully going to be getting a valid lap time on the board. TF10 will need both drivers to have a good lap on the board, especially with things as they are. If you don't get 2 good laps on the board, you will really struggle here in qualifying, because you get given a default lap time, which I believe is a 1:40, and that will bring your average so far down that you have not even a chance to qualify. Rayan for TF10 coming across the line now. It's going to be an absolute blast around the Circuit of the Americas.
Absolutely, we have seen Rayan do some really good things in CSS in the last season. He has had some pretty good results for the TF10 team, but now he goes into the first corner here, takes it quite nicely now going into the series of S's. Got to be on the limit as much as you can, but of course, make sure not to invalidate. We have seen already multiple mistakes in this session and last session through here to purple sector 1, 24.675 for the TF10 man now going through the final corner of the S. There's a little bit slidey on the exit. We shouldn't have lost him too much time now going into this little hairpin here. On the limit, you have to be to make sure you get a really good lap. He has got a McLaren up ahead of him, which should get out of the way for him. But now opens the DRS and uses his ERS going into the third sector here now. Going into this tight little corner, breaks just before the 100 meter board. Now going into sector 2 split. What lap time is it going to be? It's going to be a 1 minute 7:43, which isn't actually purple, but going through this final series of this little tight section, but now going into this very, very long right-hander, of course, flat out, as I have mentioned in the previous session. Now going into the final 2 corners here. Use as much of the exit as you possibly can to set up the corner perfectly for the last corner. Opens the DRS one final time, comes across the line. It's a 30.305 for the TF10 man. As we can see, loads of other drivers are either beginning their laps or going on their out laps, as Tony Richet gets the fastest sector, 1 whole 10.5 up on his previous time. Now going into this chicane here, what can he do for TF10, and can he get this lap to qualify TF10 for this next season of CSS?
Yeah, undoubtedly, that first lap time is going to be something he's not too proud of, a 1:30.511. But this second lap time shaping up to be much better for him, as now he'll go through that sector 2 timing line. It's a 3.5, well, nearly 4 tenths improvement actually for Tony Richet, which would put him about on par with the lap time he needs to take that P1 spot back away from Alex Lofer, who is on a lap time himself at the moment and could be trying to take himself even further up this order at the moment. But Tony Richet around the final couple of bends now does a good job not to invalidate there through the final 2 bends of the lap up to the line. Now it's a purple sector 1, purple sector 2, not a purple sector 3, and not into the 1:29s, but a very, very decent lap time. But Alex Lofer is about to decimate that margin just a little bit more, I think, although he had a rear end slide on the final bend, and commentator's curse strikes once again. No improvement for him there.
Yeah, absolutely. He was a 10.5 up. I was actually looking at his lap throughout that, but unfortunately has a little bit of a bottle in the last corner. Who will be next across the line? I think that is the Williams of an F1 AF, who is slightly down. It is the Granddadder coming through these last couple of corners here. Now going into this very long right hand. He has to, of course, improve his lap time if he wants any chance of F1 AF qualifying here. But now going into this very, very quick left-hander, now going into this medium speed left-hander once again. Opens the DRS one final time. What lap time is it going to be? It's going to be a 10th improvement, and it's a 31.0 for the F1 AF man, a team I've never actually heard of, but don't look too bad in this qualifying session. But although I don't think it's going to be really good enough to qualify them for this season.
Yeah, really interesting to see what happened for them. They've not necessarily had, they've flown under the radar so far. An improvement there from Calablu there for DLX takes him from 12th to 11th, so not a huge improvement. His teammates on a lap time at the moment, just getting past Josh there. Now he'll go up to the line, Antonio Jesus, as he remains in 12th, and not a good lap time there for either of the DLXs. They will want a lot more performance there, so disappointing for that pairing. Believe Indian was on a small improvement, hasn't set that lap time, as he was not improving by enough and invalidated there. So is there anyone on an improvement lap at the moment? Doesn't appear there is, but we do have a few drivers who are on out laps, and that is going to be really interesting because we still have 6 minutes left on the clock.
Absolutely. A couple drivers now coming out. Amar Carrasco is in fact on an in lap, so no need to really look at him Same with Grandad are now coming into the pits. Both DLXs, no, they're not on a lap, never mind. But some drivers now on their outlaps for their third runs in this qualifying session. But I do have to say, I'm not sure if they'll be able to get a whole lap and make it back into the pits in time to get final run in. So, very risky to come out now, but it can work though, and we have seen it work in previous seasons. So, quite excited to see how the rest of the session pans out, as we've still got 5 minutes left to go here.
Indeed we do, and Ryan beginning yet again another lap time here for TF10, and hoping to get himself just that bit closer to his teammate. Can he sneak into the 1 minute 29s before his teammate manages to do so? Well, he's got a very decent Sector 1 time actually there, improving by about 700ths of a second, so improving by a nice margin. And then now is that Sector 2, which there's not much in this Sector 2, but it is mini but mighty, as they say, and just a better exit off of that corner there. Turn 11, that hairpin, a better exit off there, carries that advantage all the way down this straight. An extra mile an hour or two is worth quite a lot in this grand scheme of things. It might not be a lot in your road car, but in a Formula 1 car, over that distance, it makes a lot of time, and he's gained a lot of time in that sector, about nearly a tenth and a half gained for Rayan there, so 2/10 improvement. He needs just a tenth in his final sector, but a rear end slide there coming out of the exit of turn 15, and I think that is not going to be a lap time he sets. He'll come into the pit lane, change those tyres again as he goes round at the final bend. So definitely into the pit lane now, as does Noski, who is on an improvement lap. Is anyone on an improvement lap? Indian is on a out lap, but no.
Jeremiah has just crossed into the second DRS zone here. Coming into the straight, sorry to interrupt you there, Byron, but now going into this Sector 2 split, use as much of the track as possible. Is it going to be an improvement? It's going to be barely an improvement. It's showing up as purple, which I don't believe is actually purple, but I guess we're going to have to go with it. Coming into these last couple of corners, I know also Alex Lofa is behind him, a whole sector behind, but now going through this long right-hander, and now going into these series of two left-handers. Not the quickest I've seen so far in this session, but has to have this perfect final corner. Doesn't use as much of the curb as I'd anticipated him to do. It is a 2/10 improvement, but I don't think it's going to be enough to set the world alight. Alex Lofa, he's slightly up on his lap time, so quite a wonder kid we're currently watching here. Now going through this long right-hander, setting the car up perfectly for these final two left-handers. This probably will be his final lap, so he needs to make it count now going into this final left-hander here. Opens the DRS for one final time. It's a 30.0 for the AMR man, so that might mean guaranteed qualification for AMR, as his teammate Carrasco, currently on an outlap, has set a 30.590. So could AMR qualify along with the likes of TF10? Can we possibly see someone crazy come in, as we see VMV Indian has a 30.5, so possibly can VMV also qualify? We just have to see how his teammate does. We can see a couple drivers now beginning their pits in the background, so final run's now underway, 2 minutes left to go, so I'm quite excited to see how these go.
Indeed, a lot of movement about to happen, I think, on this order. I believe the lead driver on a hot lap at the moment is Cala Blue, but he didn't set a good Sector 1 time. He's got a bit of traffic as well along this DRS straight, with drivers coming out of the pit lane, getting their tyres into that right window for their hot laps, but keeping nicely out of the way here for the DLX man, as now into what will be the start of Sector 3 for him. Is he improving there? He's improving by 2.5 tenths of a second there, which, you know, it's not looking likely that they qualify, but every little helps, as Tesco say, and all it takes is a really good lap time, really good Sector 3, and that could make that difference. So we're expecting a few drivers to possibly improve here, and that's running wide at the final bend. That's qualifying done and dusted for Cala Blue here, as I believe now it is pretty much just Antonio Jesus on a hot lap, who's decently through a hot lap at the moment, as he'll come round the final couple of bends now to finish off this flying lap. Improves by 2.5 tenths of a second, but not really setting the timing sheets alight there, but certainly trying his best to do what he can. But I want to have a little look and see what we've got on this timing board, because I believe Carrasco has invalidated his hot lap. He won't get another attempt there. What about Rayan, who is on a hot lap, followed closely, I believe, by Josh or Jacob Bowser?
Josh, that is. Just behind him, also on an improvement, if we take a look at Rayan's lap. Purple Sector 2 for the TF10 man, Tony Richet, his teammate as well, coming through the Sector 2 split as well. But let's focus on TF10 Rayan as he's coming through this long right-hander here. Yellow flag in Sector 1 after an F1AF driver did retire after his qualifying. That's qualifying over for him. Amar Carrasco, should I say, has also retired, but Rayan coming across the line. It's a 29.9, as Tony Richet will be next to come across the line as well, followed closely behind with Jacob Bowser. Actually will be next to come across the line as he comes into pits, so there's nothing to worry about that. But Tony Richet coming across the line, it's a 29.8 for the TF10 man, so it's a TF10 1-2 here, followed by Alex Lofer, VMV Indian, Amar Carrasco, VMV Nostecki, Josh, the Granddada and Jeremiah for F1AF. Jacob Bowser in 10th, Antonio Jesus and Calabri round it out in 12th. So I think that has got to be TF10 guaranteed in, and AMR also with a good chance of qualifying. Same with possibly VMV possibly getting in as well.
Yeah, VMV, Noski got an improvement there as well by nearly a tenth of a second right at the death of that. It doesn't change his position, but does mean that their average will look that little bit healthier. But as expected, TF10 setting the mark and setting the bar very, very high there in that second lobby. And now attention turns to that third lobby, which, you know, is looking like it's going to have a pretty tough time with AMR, possibly VMV, and TF10 pretty much coming out of this with near close to, as close as you can really get, of a possible guaranteed qualification. Although VMV not quite as good as I thought, not sure they're going to make it. AMR on the other hand though, the average they will get from that brilliant lap time from Alex Lofer, that's really handy.
Quite unknown as well. I've never actually seen Alex Lofer drive in any events apart from here today, so going to definitely keep my eye on him as the season progresses. He looks to be pretty good, but as you also mentioned, AMR possibly look to be qualified. Same with VMV, might be just on the cusp, as I saw in chat did say. I think they'll be right on the cusp on either just about qualifying or just about missing out, but we've still got lobby 3 to come, so just make sure to be ready for that. I'll actually have a look at what teams are in the second lobby. Just give me, not the second lobby, third lobby. We've got some pretty good names in here. Versio, BRT and OVR all. We did see all three of them compete last season in two of them on the PlayStation side and one of them on Xbox, so quite excited to see how they go. This might be one of the faster lobbies, in fact. Versio, of course, they competed last season. SET as well. They haven't competed in CSS before, I don't believe. BRT, one of the best teams on Xbox. OVR as well, one of the best French teams out there. OP, quite an unknown team, and they are not Outplayed Racing, as I did see someone say in the chat about yesterday, as they did compete on the PC side. So, fine. who do you think will do well out of lobby 3?
Lobby 3, well, if you're looking at based on who we've had before, OVR, BRT, and EVE are definitely the three teams to watch and firmly keep your eye on, but it's so difficult when it comes to these sort of things as to who do you expect to deliver results and who do you think might not. And, well, we saw that teams that maybe we expected to deliver a little bit more didn't deliver quite as much as we thought. DLX, really disappointing. VMV, I think, wanted a bit more. AMR might have just made it, but not sure about anybody else.
Absolutely. Spreadsheet has been updated so we can see who currently is where. So it's Shazoo who's still leading the way, followed by TF10 and AMR managing to get into third place, and surprisingly, FGE managing to get fourth place, slightly edging out VMV, and IET comes in behind as well, pretty close to them lot as well, with EVR and XBG in the next two positions. F1AF and DLX round out your last two positions, but we've still got two lobbies left to go, of which, as I said, Versio, SET, BRT, OVR, and OP are set to drive, but OP are for some reason not on this spreadsheet. I'm not sure if they will actually be driving in this session, but I guess we'll just have to wait and see, as I need to restart my game to get into the next lobby, as the next lobby is now getting prepared.
Indeed it is, and yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see what's set to happen here. I'm trying to figure out what is going on with my game. My game seems to be just as broken as yours, Dom, and I have got no idea what's going on. But, yeah, no, this lobby, it's so interesting to see everything that happens here, and really, really, constantly, just what we see within this game. These teams go just above and beyond, week in, week out, and they just do it so easily to deliver those results. And definitely disappointing for some out of that second lobby. The third lobby, I think, again, got to be a few surprises, I think, there in terms of who makes it and who doesn't. But hey, time will tell, and it'll be interesting to see.
Absolutely. Lobby's now populating, so quite excited to see who is going to be driving that where. We can see some of the lineups as well. For the Aversio, it is a lineup of Triske and Nico, who is a brand new signing for Aversio, only announced, I think, a week ago. But for OP, you've got Flavosi and Ferry. For OVR, it is Lolo, and I've got no clue who the other driver is. And BRT have got Joe Murphy and Tech Brottle, two really great drivers on this game so far. So quite excited to see how this goes, as the second OVR driver has joined, and that is PLX, who is driving in the second car. So looking like a very good lobby so far, but of course, just have to wait for it to start. It is due to start in 4 minutes, actually.
Indeed, yeah, due to start in a couple of moments' time. I'm having to reload my game because it just, for some reason, broke. Not got a clue what. But hey, the game loves to break on everybody, doesn't it? So it's all too used to. But yeah, really interesting to see kind of everything that's happened over. So far we've had a few shocks, a few surprises. And yeah, definitely was really interesting to see the way in which Shazoo took that so well. And then the same can easily be said for TF10. Brilliant lap times from both of those teams. And you cannot fault them at all. They just were on it from the get-go, blitzed it, and yeah, literally spot on. Start to finish. But yeah, going to be interesting to see.
Absolutely. I've just received words that the second SET driver will be joining in the next lobby. I think I'm understanding that correctly from Ace. it is a Wi-Fi problem for Caden, who's supposed to be driving. But in the other SET is what's his name? Geekin, who will be driving WRT Tier 3 man. So I'm quite excited to see how they do, as well as Byron. You're still not in the lobby, but we have 2 minutes until we are scheduled to go, but that may be pushed back. See if you have any luck, Byron, getting into the lobby.
Well, I'm about to join now. I'm in nice and easily there. So, yeah, it looks like we will have 9 drivers to go. We should be good to ready up now, if I'm not mistaken. So, it looks like Lobby 3 on its way to you in just a second because, yeah, everybody in. So, let's get going because Lobby 3 just around the corner. So, as the drivers all ready up, get themselves sorted, and I believe Dom's just going to take a couple of moments away, and let's get ready for Lobby 3 here, and what a interesting lobby this one is going to be. You've got Bunga Racing Team, OVR, well, quite a few teams here that we're used to and know and love, but OVR going to be interesting to see what they are able to do. But as always, plenty of teams going. I'm probably going to be making a bit of movement and headway in this third lobby. EVE in the Red Bull here, SET and the Aston Martin, Bunga Racing Team, Sauber. Alpine for OVR, and then OP in Mercedes. But 5 teams, 18 minutes, and 9 drivers, 1 driver missing, and will join us for the next session. But let's take you trackside in a moment for the third session of our time here tonight, and let's take you there now, back to the Circuit of the Americas for this exciting qualifying night. And now we have 5 teams, 9 drivers, all going hammer and tong once more. And first out of the pit lane is that is one of the Saubers. That's the OVR. That is OVR of Tech Brutal. So, going to be interesting to see what they are able to do. Here we go, though. The start of Lobby 3 now underway.
Absolutely. Apologies for that. But anyway, Tech Brawl is going to be leading the way, followed by his BRT teammate of Joe Murphy, who has already invalidated his lap. And they are actually switching positions, so Tech Brawl going quite slowly, but Joe Murphy trying to take this out lap much quicker than what his teammate wants to do. Just behind him is a little train of cars, of which I cannot exactly make out what teams they are. It's both OVRs with a Red Bull and Mercedes in there as well, so very close between all of them. Hopefully they don't impede themselves, because although I don't think it will actually be a penalty if they do impede themselves, because they all technically are on flying laps. So I guess we're just gonna have to see in the stewards room later tonight. But of course, qualifying nights don't really have many reports, so it makes my job just that little bit easier, which of course you just love to see. But let's take a look at Joe Murphy's lap. He's invalidated his out lap, but that doesn't really matter. As long as he doesn't invalidate in the final corner, it should be all fine. He's set sail on his first run here now, going into the first corner here. It's a very tight left-hander, very open, but of course very hard to get right, as you cannot really see the corner as it is uphill. Now going into these famous S's, which we have seen already multiple times, and which I have said multiple times throughout the stream, is where loads of mistakes tend to happen here, but Joe Murphy goes through them really well. It's 24.6, 689 for the BRT man, now going into the second sector through the DRS detection zone. Of course, it's not necessary um, in qualifying, but now opens the DRS right now and uses as much of his DRS as he possibly can. Make sure to save it as well throughout the rest of the lap. Now going into this little hairpin here, use as much of the inside curb as possible and the outside as well. What sector 2 split is it going to be? It's a 1:07.47, which isn't the fastest we've seen today, but for a first run, it looks pretty good for the BR team. And now going through into this long right-hander, which we have seen throughout this uh, entire evening. Now going into the final two left-handers, now coming across the line. BRT Joe Murphy, what lap time is it going to be? What banker is it going to be? We have seen him very quick previously, it's 30.2. His teammate Tech Brawl comes into the pits, so just behind them is OP Flavosi, who also comes into the pits, and so does both OVRs. So all four of them not being able to set a lap, but just behind them, Triskay is on an actual lap going through these final two corners. Now going into the final left-hander here, opens the DRS one final time on this lap, comes across the line. It's a 30.474 for the Versio man, so pretty decent banker, only 2/10 off the BRT man. Geeking comes in across the line with a 31.5, which is a little bit off the pace, but of course for a first run it is all right. We go into take a look at, who can we take a look at? OP Ferry, apparently purple sector 2 for the OP man, going through this long right-hander and now going to these final two corners. Of course, as I have said multiple times throughout this stream, it is absolutely vital to get these corners perfectly right. Now going into across the line, it is the 31.8, so maybe it wasn't a purple sector 2, but I think that is pretty much all of the first runs completed.
Indeed, as Nico, who is the Red Bull for EVE, isn't improving and, well, invalidated as well, but already back on an outlap is Tech Brutal and Flavio Zoli, who is neither of them got a valid lap time on. Plex as well didn't get a valid lap time. He's already back out onto the racetrack at the moment. So our lead driver on an outlap at the moment is the man on your screen, Tech Brutal, looking to try and match what his teammate has done for BRT. And if he can, that'd be certainly, hopefully, taking them through quite easily, I would have thought, at the moment.
Absolutely. As you said, loads of drivers now on their outlaps. The drivers that didn't actually, in fact, get lap times on the board now going on outlaps. The one leading, as you I think mentioned as well, Tech Bruttle as well. Now rounding the final two corners. Make sure the tyres are warmed up and make sure your ERS percentage is also at 100% now. Very nice helmet design, I have to say, for the BRT man. But now going into this DRS zone and now setting the car up perfectly for turn one, using a little bit of the curb on the outside. Brake as soon as the line on the floor appears, but now going through this series of S's, now very famous series of corners. Use as much of the curbs as you possibly can, going through this section of corners, flat out through here, but slight lift through here into a little break. It's purple sector 1 for the BRT man. I didn't exactly catch what lap time it was exactly, but now going into this left-hand hairpin and now setting the car up perfectly for sector 1. Byron, I have to say, this lap time is looking very good.
Yeah, it's not looking bad at all. Looking definitely like it could be on par with his teammate at the moment as things stand. But obviously there's a lot of time between now and the end of this session. Still 11 minutes left. So just because it looks good now doesn't mean it will look good come the end. But he is just 1/100th of his teammate. In fact, actually, no, it's 1,000th he's off his teammate. So even less the margin between himself and his teammate at the moment. So he could be about to take it and actually beat what Joe Murphy has managed up to this point in qualifying. Here is around the final bend. Now comes Tech Brutal, the man for BRT, up to the line. He manages to go second, about 10th down from his teammate, but not a bad lap time at all from him, as Faviazzoli is around the final bend now. And where will he go? He goes 4th. Not a bad lap time for him at all. And just keeping an eye on to see, I believe it is one of the Alpines over the line next. It's Plex there for OVR to set a first flying lap time in qualifying. Where will they go? 3rd. That's a very good lap time for Plex here, who goes up into that 3rd place. Not bad at all. And next to come across the line is going to be Plex's teammate Lolo, who has a purple sector 2, a green sector 1. Where was this pace last season for Plex? As now it goes 2nd for Lolo. That is absolutely brilliant from him. So now OVR looking absolutely brilliant at the moment. Not doing too bad at all, as Geekin begins a hot lap, and there's a few more drivers on hot laps at the moment.
Absolutely, Nico, one of the only driver, in fact, not to set a lap apart from, of course, Nico, who is hosting the lobby and is not driving. So, who's first out on track? Do you know, Byron?
Joe Murphy at the moment.
Joe Murphy, yes. A 10th up on his previous lap time. Yeah, 2 10s up on his previous lap time. Now going into the final 2 left-handers here, using as much of the curbs as he possibly can. Has been very quick on this game. I've been seeing his progress is 29.9 for the BRT man. Next across the line, I do see Triske getting a purple sector 2, 2 tenths up on his previous lap time. So very decent for the Versio man, trying to get Versio on to the grid once again this season, after they qualified last season and I think finished 10th on PlayStation, if I remember correctly. Now going to these final 2 left-handers, now going through this final medium speed corner all the way down to gear 3, over to the DRS for one final time. What lap time is it going to be? It's going to be a 30.2, so very, very decent lap for the Versio man, as that is, I think, the final lap, apart from OP Ferry, who is all the way down in sector 2 as he misses his apex quite a fair bit. So that is pretty much all of the second runs done and dusted.
Indeed, just Farry to go. And yeah, he's not doing too bad at the moment. But yeah, definitely interesting. I had a moment where I thought it looked like Joe Murphy had exceeded track limits. In fact, there's a brief moment where I'm pretty sure he does, but the game doesn't flag it, so not too bad. But yeah, interesting as a Farry there invalidates. He's got time though, and plenty of time left in this qualifying session. But yeah, no, it's really interesting at the moment where we're standing. You've got BRT looking pretty set to be qualified, as is OVR. Both teams have been a bit of surprise. I think BRT I was expecting to be up there, but wasn't quite sure how much. And OVR, I think, has been quite a pleasant surprise.
Absolutely. BRT, I think everyone expected them to go through. I did see the poll, and it is an astounding victory for BRT, getting 68% of the votes, actually. And Versio as second with 25% of the votes. So BRT look to be favourites out of this session, and look to be favourites to qualify here. Might even be favourites for the title come the end of the season. Of course, qualifying really just shows how much pace each team has, which really just shows what teams could be near the front and what teams could be fighting near the back. But of course, qualifying doesn't really dictate that. It is the actual racing itself, so make sure to stay tuned, as we have got the season running all the way until March, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. So anyway, Nico now beginning his lap. Who else is actually beginning a lap? Tech Brutal has just set purple sector 1. It's slightly up on his previous time, but the game has flagged it as purple according to my screen. now going into this final corner very late on the break, but make sure to make it count. Now going into this very long DRS straight, opens the DRS as the loads more of the drivers behind him now beginning laps. Now braking here just before the 100-meter boards, brake cuts as much of the curb as he possibly can, goes through the sector 2 split. It's a 10th up nearly, and it's the game's flagging it as well as purple. I'm not sure what you can see on your screen, Byron.
Green.
But but Tech Brutal going through this long right-hander, going to be the first of the third runs to set a lap time going through these final two left-handers, as it is an invalidated lap. As Tech Brutal goes into the pit, as we can take a look at Nico, I believe, is leading that little train of cars now going through the final sector here. He is followed closely behind by Joe Murphy behind, which I don't believe needs to set really another lap, as I believe with that time pretty much guaranteed qualification for BRT. I think if you're in the 29s, pretty much guaranteed that you'll qualify, as Nico tries to increase the chances of Versio qualifying with a 30.356.
Indeed, not a bad lap time at all for him. Keeping an eye on who's actually on a lap time at the moment, who's might be improving on theirs. Lolo's on a lap at the moment. Is he going to set this improvement? He's got a purple sector 2, bit of rear end slide out the final bend, improves by just over a 10th. So a good lap time from him, takes him to second place now on the road. I believe that was Geekin who just came into the pit lane there in the background. And as you say, once again, Joe Murphy on another lap time, and it's a purple sector 1 once again. This man is just finding pace wherever this track goes, and no one else seems to be able to find as much as he can.
He's been really, really quick on this game. I've got no clue where he gets the pace from. Now going into this final sector, let's see what sector 2 split is going to be. It's going to be purple and 10th up on his previous lap time, so he's going for the best lap time of the entire night. Joe Murphy is, but now going into the final sector here, going into this long right-hander, of course, flat out in gear 6, shifts up to gear 7, or shifting down once again for this high-speed left-hander. Now goes down into the final corner, which he takes beautifully, going into across the line. It's 29.740, which, correct me if I'm wrong, Byron, but that is the fastest lap of the night so far.
I'm not sure. I think it may actually be the fastest lap of the night so far. 29.740. Yeah, definitely is at the moment. So yeah, going to be interesting to see what they are able to do. And it's actually quite close to being the fastest time, full stop. A 29.68 was the fastest lap time we saw, full stop. So not even that far off of that at the moment. So doing a brilliant job so far to deliver the result that the team would hopefully want out of this one. So good job so far for Joe Murphy. Everybody else now on an out lap. He won't have time to get into the pit lane, change tyres and go again. Now the ball is in the court of everybody else on this grid to try and see what they can do.
Absolutely. Most of the drivers are now on their out laps, apart from Joe Murphy and Lolo, who I believe are done for this night, as I don't believe Joe Murphy will be able to get back into the pits in time to set another lap, and Lolo is just not going out. But leading so far these out laps is Tech Brutal. Round the final couple of corners, makes sure to get as much heat into the tyres as Lolo in the background does manage to get out of the pits. Will he be able to come round and set a lap? I don't think so, but take a look at Tech Brutal as he goes through. As he starts his lap, he's currently got a 30.361. He is trying to beat that and get as close to his teammate as he possibly can. Takes turn 1 beautifully, now going into this next series of the S's, actually, very famous corners, and where we've seen loads of mistakes this evening so far. But going into the sector 1 split it is barely up, but it is still up, in fact, for Tech Brutal now going into these last couple of S's are now going into and setting the car up perfectly for this hairpin, which goes to the left. Make sure to use as much of the curb as possible. A little bit slidey on the exit, which means they didn't manage to get as much of the track on the exit, but there's no bother for him as he continues on his lap and is doing pretty well, I'd have to say, for Tech Brutal. Now, checkered flag is waved as Lolo does not manage to get a lap time in, but Tech Brutal is definitely managing to get a lap in. He's only slightly up on his lap, but it's looking alright. He's still got the last sector to go, so can it be an improvement for the BRT man come the end of this lap?
It'll be interesting to see, but OP Farrier is going to get to the line just before Tech Brutal manages to get there. So what can OP Farrier do as he rounds the final bend now? Is it an improvement for him? He goes up to 8th. What about Tech Brutal? He's invalidated around the final couple of corners, so he won't improve in this session. What about Flavio Zoli? Who is on a lap time at the moment. I'm not sure if he is improving, but he is going to set this lap time nonetheless. What can he do as he goes up to the line? Does improve by 3 tenths. There's Aston Martin behind. That was Geekin. He doesn't improve. Now, next across the line will be Plex for OVR. His teammate is all the way up in 2nd. What can he manage? He improves by ever so small of a margin, but every little does help. So now, next is Trisk, who will come across the line now. What can he do? He improves by just 3/4 of a tenth and takes himself up to 2nd, replacing Lolo, who was there, and Nico05 for EVE has invalidated that final run. And damage isn't on. Sorry about that. Hopefully he does not get disqualified, because if he does get disqualified, that's going to be a little bit on the embarrassing side. He comes across the line now. Yeah. Very interesting, that lobby, because it was very different. BRT were at the top, but everybody else behind had to fight for it.
Absolutely. BRT, Joe Murphy, dominating in really, really good fashion. 4 tenths ahead of his closest competitor, who was Triske, so I believe that is basically BRT guaranteed qualification. Triske as well, doing pretty well. So I believe Aversio have also qualified out of that. Possibly even OVR out of that as well. If we take a look at the average time, but so far it's looking like it's going to be very good final lobby, as of course still got one more lobby to go. I'll just tell you the teams in just a second in that final lobby. We've got, this might arguably be the strongest lobby we have of this evening. IRT, FRT, AMS, ILD, and NLR. 4 of those teams actually competed last season. AMS, I'm not sure if they competed on Xbox last season or not, but looks like a very strong final lobby. So still loads to change. I'm actually going to take a look if the spreadsheet has been updated just yet. Oh yes, it has actually. So we've got Shazoo leading the way. It is saying SET is currently leading, but that's nothing to worry about. Shazoo leading, followed by TF10 BRT coming behind TF10 Aversio, then OVR and AMR, FGE, then VMV, then IET, TIE, EVR, OP, XPG, F1AF, and DLX currently in the last few positions. So for some of those teams in the back, I think their hope is pretty much gone. I don't think they're going to be able to make it into season 5.
Yeah, it seems that kind of 7th, 8th, and 9th, it's a bit of a, to put it in a diplomatic way, it's a bit of a squeaky bum time, I would have said, for them, because they've got some good teams in this 4th lobby, and the chances they make it through, it's not looking too likely, if I'm honest. So I think it's going to be a bit of a struggle for those involved, and I don't think they may not like the outcome, and it would be a bit gutted if they were looking strong and then fall short of the final hurdle. But we'll see. We've got one more lobby to go, and that final lobby is what will determine exactly who does make it and who doesn't. And at the moment, it's not looking bad. You know, you got Shazoo, TF10, BRT, EVE, and OVR. You know, that top 6 teams, so I'd say they've probably relatively safely made it through. AMR might be feeling a little bit of pressure, as well as FGE, VMV, and IET. I don't think they're going to make it, unfortunately, just because at the moment they've not, they're kind of right on the bubble, and you've got NLR to qualify. You know, that's going to be a bit gutted for them, but they went earlier. And, you know, in a way, they opted to do that, and it may not have worked in their favour.
Absolutely. So far, my predictions from this lobby, I have to say, NLR and IRT, I think, can definitely make it. What the teams are in here? Excuse me. FRT, I believe, will also make it. ILD, I believe. They were in PS last season, but will they be able to do it again? I'm not entirely sure. They were dark horses last season. I think they climbed up to 8th in the championship, so they didn't have the worst of seasons. AMS can also do decently, but I have to say IRT, FRT, and NLR, I think, are my 3 that will come out on top of this lobby. What do you think, Byron?
I mean, looking at the teams we've had qualify so far, we've had a few surprises. I definitely think NLR, they've got to make it through. IRT, they're a known team, they should make it through. The same for ILD, but we've been wrong before, we've been wrong in the past. We've made predictions in the past and then made to look like absolute tools when they've not been right. So it's anyone's guess, I think, really. Definitely NLR, I think, should get through. But I think other than that, it's anyone's game. You know, and it's always how it's supposed to be. That's the idea of qualifying night. You know, you could have a bit of rub of the green, you could have a bit of luck that goes in your favour, but it could work the other way around. If you just don't get a good lap in, don't get close to your PB and get the result you expect, you will pay the consequence. So I think, like, all of these teams, there's a lot on their plate, a lot of pressure on, especially for the teams in this 4th lobby, because those teams that may not think they are too guaranteed to have a place, they're going to be feeling that heat and pressure a little bit more than others.
Absolutely. Make sure to put your predictions in the YouTube chat of who you believe will qualify. But as we did see in the chat, provisional top 5 currently Shazoo, TF10, BRT, Aversio, and OVR. So I believe all of them, I think, are guaranteed to qualify. So congratulations to them. We're just waiting for a couple more to come to the lobby. Who are we missing, actually? I think we're just missing that one SET driver that was supposed to drive in this lobby. I had internet problems last time. Not sure if they're actually joining, in fact. But it's looking like a pretty good last lobby. Of course, last lobby of the night, and I've just received confirmation that they are not joining. So I believe we can get started, hopefully.
Internet's still down. So unless they're able to somehow sneak in a reverse in midway through, which they can do, we will be just on 10 drivers for this final lobby. But this is what decides the end result and who gets in. You know, and could be interesting to see what they're able to do, but let's see what we can do. So they are all readying up now. It is go time. Lobby 4 on the horizon, the one that will decide it all. The outcome of this could be monumental. Teams will fall short of the mark here after the next 18 minutes. 18 minutes, the final 18 minutes of qualifying night. Heading your way in just a second, and someone random's joined as a spectator. I'm not sure if you noticed that just at the end.
I in fact didn't notice it.
Yeah, someone random's joined. Possibly someone for another team, possibly, or a driver that somehow accidentally pressed spectator right at the end. Which actually looks like is the scenario that's happened, so they better take the right car quite quickly in this lobby. But hopefully, this should be a good end to proceedings here. Let's take you trackside for one final blast around the Circuit of the Americas. It is underway now. Here we go. NLR Ryan leads the way.
Although I do believe it is a lobby restart because of a random job, but we can see some of the lineups here actually. Well, we have a little bit of time. ILD have put in Max 5360 and Sabuka in the car. NLR have put Ryan and Spicer. IRT have got Dornax and ML Slash, and FRT have got Supply Raptor and Harvey. So just waiting. One of the drivers did actually put themselves as spectator for some reason. Don't know how they've managed to do that, but just delays everything, which means we have to, which is terrible for us commentators because we just have to think of things to say through this little break. But there you go, final driver is now retired, so now we're just waiting for the lobby to finally restart. Hopefully shouldn't be too long. We are ahead of schedule, which is pretty good. Just have to wait for the lobby restart in the race, but in my opinion, just wasting time, that in my opinion, that should be a penalty for just basically wasting everyone's time.
Yeah, I mean, accidents happen, but we'll just wait for all of the drivers to retire in the race. I've already called the driver who did it a tool, which I think is the appropriate word. So, yeah, they are sorting themselves out at the moment. We will then be back in a moment. But, yeah, so some jokes being made about needing a second lobby as they are now cold and lost all the pace and performance. Sure. Yeah, that's not happening again. Not after last time. But very interesting that happening. But hopefully we can sort that out, get back in quite quickly. Because obviously the thing with this is it's just retiring from 2 races and pretty much ready up as soon as we're back in the lobby. Easy as that. So don't need to worry too much. Should be nice and quick through proceedings and back into. But I think NLR absolutely qualify here. I just have no idea about anyone else.
I believe IRT also favourites to go through, and also FRT as well. One of the best teams on Xbox. I think they also have pretty much guaranteed to get in, but anything can happen in these qualifying sessions. Although ILD also have got a good chance of making it. As we are straight away readying up once again, which is just perfect, as I know all these drivers are quite used to lobby restarts now because of how many times they've actually done it, because of how rubbish the game actually is. But
yeah,
of course, readying up once again, so hopefully we should bring you on track action once again in the next couple of seconds.
Yeah, exactly that. Everybody readying up. Everyone seems to have gone into the lobby and gone to the lobby screen, bar me. Are you still in the lobby, Dom? Or are you...
I'm in.
okay. Give me a second. What has just happened with my game?
Oh,
Right.
it's just happened to me as well. Right, another delay. You love to see it, don't you? um, I think it's just kicked out the spectators. I can't even join back.
Yeah, I think it's a spectator issue. Let's see if we can. I don't know if I have an invite.
I think it's a whole lobby issue.
Not sure. Right, we were going to take you trackside. Problem with that is there's no trackside to take you at the moment. Let's hopefully get figure out what's going on.
Oh, I can't load in now.
Yeah, I'm waiting to hopefully get another invite, and hopefully that fixes things. Oh,
I'm the only one left in the lobby.
Nico got kicked out too. It seems like everybody,
right.
maybe bar the drivers, everyone apart from the drivers might have been kicked out.
I'm the only one that has actually managed to stay in, but we already have a couple of drivers leaving, so I guess I'll have to leave as well. Don't know what's happening there. I think it's just EA being EA once again and just disconnecting everyone, which we did see yesterday, but we don't talk about what happened yesterday. Should we throw a new lobby, I'd assume?
Yeah, exactly. Hopefully we're able to get this sorted nice and quick. But yeah, no, weird. Always the last lobby. Really weird. But hey, we wait for things to get sorted out, and then we'll be good to go. Hopefully quite quickly, I would have thought, based on how quickly Nico's been managing to sort us all out. For all these other lobbies, we've only just managed to go into the last lobby not on time. We've been on time for all of the other ones, so that's real good work from our lobby host Nico tonight. But yeah, disappointing the fact that the last one is the one that's delayed. So, invites are being sent out at the moment, and well, we should hopefully very shortly have the last 18 minutes underway of qualifying as drivers begin to get into that lobby now. You've got ML/M as well as Dornak, Spicer, and Wards as well. So we're just sorting that out. But yeah, obviously you mentioned that you're expecting a few teams out of this to possibly qualify. You said your picks to qualify are FRT, NLR, and did you say you think was it IRT? You think
IRT,
yeah, could qualify as well. Definitely. I think I agree with that. I'm just not sure. I think FRT should get through. I'm just not sure about if LRT are going to be quite close enough to make that kind of impact and that mark. Waiting on just one more for the lobby, ladies and gentlemen, and then we will be getting underway. Apologies for the delay getting into this fourth lobby. But, yeah, really interesting to see what's going on, as I believe that is the final driver into the lobby, so we should be able to ready up now. Yeah, so let's go. Let's see what we can do here. The final 18 minutes, providing the lobby doesn't have any hiccups again, about to get underway, and well, that final 18 minutes, as I said before, when we tried to do it the very first time, very, very important 18 minutes, because this makes or breaks a lot of teams in terms of whether they get through or don't. And this is why that fifth lobby is always the one that's just that little bit more intense.
Absolutely. I mean, if we take a look at who's qualifying where so far, your top 5 so far, Shazoo, TF10, BRT, Aversio, and OVR. Just behind them is AMR after quite a dark horse performance from them today and yesterday as well. FGE coming behind them and VMV as well. But we are finally now going on the track. Byron, have you got any problems with the lobby?
No problems on my end. Hopefully none on yours
Perfect.
as
I think we're ready
well.
to go.
It does seem like we are good to go here. Will NLR Ryan be the first driver onto the racetrack, just like he was the first time we tried it? Well, it seems like he's absolutely trying it, and it is NLR Ryan, the first man onto the racetrack once again to kickstart us for the final 18 minutes of this qualifying night. And, well, NLR should qualify here as everyone filters out the pit lane so very quickly. And you've got to say that maybe that's because they're worried about losing that bit of pace in those couple of minutes that it's taken them just to get sorted. But by no means very significantly amount of time that they've lost. They only lost a few seconds in that first session, and they've got a full session here to go at it and try and get things going. And now NLR Ryan leading us away on those out laps. 8 cars on the track at the moment. 9 cars, sorry, on the track at the moment. Just one left in the pit lane. That's NLR Spicer. But plenty of laps to come. And as I said, very important laps to come.
Absolutely. These can make or break every team's chances of actually qualifying this evening for the actual season, of course. 500 euros of prize pool, so stakes are very high, and then that prize pool is distributed between the top 5 teams. First place getting 200, second getting 125, third getting 75, fourth getting 50, and fifth getting 25, and first in the driver's standings is getting 25 euros as well. So the stakes are quite high. Definitely a much bigger prize pool than what we saw last season, but we see NLR Ryan now beginning his lap, followed by Sabuka just behind him driving for ILD, coming through into this first corner here, trying to set a good banker just to really show off how good he can, to put a benchmark in for the rest of the lobby. Of course, the best banker we've seen so far, I think, was Joe Murphy's with a 30.3, but managed to get a really good lap time towards the end. But Ryan now coming out of the S's and now going into the second sector. I didn't quite catch what split it was, but now going into the hairpin and going into this very long straight, the longest straight of this entire race, of this entire track, should I say. Now has to start the car perfectly, going into the final corner bricks just before the 100-meter board. Now goes into this tight left-hander, and now it's a purple sector too, in fact, so 1 minute point 8 split. It's staying purple as he is the first one to come across the line. Now going into final little section here is just basically a ride home, I could say, going into the long right-hander, now going into left-handers, which you have to be on the limit for, but also really easy to invalidate, like we've seen so many times this evening. Now coming across that, what lap time is it going to be? It's going to be a 30.3 for NLR Ryan, followed by Sabuka just behind ILD Max with 31.2, followed by an IRT man of ML Slash, which I think was invalidated. Who else was on a lap? FLT Harvey actually moves up to second place with a 30.5. We can see some more laps now coming in. Supply Raptor will be the last one to come across the line here. He goes up to second place, so looking very good. Looking like a very good session for FRT so far. We've still got 2 drivers yet to set laps. Both of them have invalidated their full laps. Both of them being NLR Spicer and Slash here. So very good start here, and as I predicted, it's looking like it's going to be a really good qualifying session for FRT.
Yeah, interesting to see immediately on it from the get-go, a 30.479 and a 30.556. But that benchmarker from NLR Ryan, that is a really solid start to his qualifying session. You know, and Spicer obviously not getting a valid lap time on the board, but he's got plenty of time to get one. 30 minutes in the session remaining. It takes about kind of 5 minutes or so for a run around here, so you get about 3 runs, really, unless you invalidate on a couple of them, at which point you can squeeze a 4th run in, but ML Slash and Spicer will be needing to try and get a good lap time on the board sooner rather than later. It's really important for their chances of helping their team to progress outside of this qualifying stage. But everybody back into the pit lane, it's as it was, and well, who goes out first back onto the racetrack? Well, it's a bit of a waiting game to find out.
Absolutely. Everyone, which I'm quite surprised to see, if I can get the words out of my mouth, all went out at pretty much the same time in that first one. The most coordinated we've actually seen throughout this entire Supply Raptor, the last one to go into the pits. I don't actually see anyone else coming out just yet, but the chat has voted and they are saying NLR looks to be the team to qualify out of this lobby, followed by RRT. But I do have to say the votes are much closer than what we've seen in other lobbies, as we do see an Aston Martin actually come out of the pits. I think that is Spizo who's just come out and is now going through the first sector here, trying to warm up the tyres as much as he possibly can. His teammate, NLR Ryan, is also just behind as well, as we can see. A couple more drivers come out of the pits. That includes a V-Carb and a McLaren as well, as they will begin to flock out of the pits one by one. The driver leading, actually, is Spice, so I assume we'll be looking at him come his lap, as he's warming up his tyres and making sure to get as much ERS percentage from his flying lap.
Indeed, the pressure really on for NL Slash and Spicer, especially with Ryan right at the top of the timesheets. A poor lap time from Spicer would really bring that average down quite a lot, so NLR need a good lap from Spicer here. He's got the talent, he's got the potential, and he's got the capabilities to do it. He's just got to go out there and deliver that result now. So, you know, he's only got a couple of corners, then he's on his hot lap, and well, let's see what this man can do. The Austrian needs to deliver a result here for NLR.
Absolutely, as you say that, everyone is now out of the pits and now beginning their final laps. NLR Spicer leading the way here now. He's opened the DRS for the first time in his lap and closes it as soon as I say that, going through into first corner, which is a left-hander, which is a very difficult corner. I've struggled with it personally. Quite a lot now, going through the famous S's, which we have seen loads of times. Has caught out many drivers so far this evening, and yesterday is purple for the NLR man, and it is a 24.8 first sector split as he's now going into this little mini straight before braking and going into this hairpin, which is very vital to get the exit speed as much as possible, as he slides on the exit there, actually. So opens the DRS, so which means that might not be the best of laps that Spicer can do, but we've still got 9 minutes left in the session, so still got loads of time to improve it now, going into this really tight and technical session, now going through sector 2 split. What is it going to be? It's going to be a 1 minute 0.8, which is purple on my screen, but I'm not sure if it is in fact purple, and if it is in fact the fastest lap of the session, should I say. Now going through this long right hander who's got an Alpine in front of him, who hopefully doesn't invalidate him, as there's a little bit of impeding it going on there as he goes through the final corner. What lap time is it going to be? It's going to be a 30.3.
It's a brilliant lap time from NLR Spicer, but his teammate is going just that little bit quicker on his lap. So Ryan now up to the line and sets that bar even higher by a further 0.2 of a second. Beautiful lap time from NLR Ryan. I believe next is going to be one of the FRTs. Harvey's on a lap time at the moment. He's not improving those. Then will be Aaron. He's not improving either. Who is going to be next across the line then? It is going to be ML Slash, who is now also invalidated. Is anybody
Nice.
going to set a good lap time here? Because everybody seems to be having a bit of a mare here at the moment. It does seem like Sapuka is going to be the next driver to set a valid lap time, providing he doesn't invalidate around the final corner. He improves by 0.2 a second. And then Supply Raptor for FRT to the top of the timesheets, as Dornax also takes, I believe, a little bit of an improvement there up to 5th. But Supply Raptor out of nowhere, a 1:30.117. That's a beautiful lap time.
And as I predicted, FRT to the top of the timing sheets with 1st and 4th here. Will it be good enough to qualify? I believe it is. I think that's everyone on there in laps now. So that's everyone's 2nd runs now done. Possibly they can fit in 4 runs, but I'm not fully sure about that one.
Yeah, they can fit in 4, obviously, if they invalidate a run and they dive it into the pit lane before it's done. They definitely can squeeze 4 runs in just about if they're feeling a little bit lucky. But it does seem like everyone's not really putting too much of a hustle and harry on that. But as I say that, we do get some more drivers out of the pit lane. Harvey, ML Slash, and ILD Max all onto the racetrack to begin the 3rd runs here. So if they invalidate on this run, they've got time to dive into the pit lane, change tyres, go again. That's the advantage that they've got by going a little bit earlier in this session with 6.5 minutes left on the clock. They will have that advantage of, you know, diving back into the pits, changing those tyres if they don't think the pace is there on that lap, but leaves them vulnerable if there's lots of track evolution at the end. But for the time being, they're sticking with that decision. 3 cars out on track for everybody else into the pit lane, and well, FRT Harvey leading the way on this gaggle of cars that have come out onto the road, but it won't be long until everybody else is back on track.
Absolutely, we've still got a little train yet to come into the pit. Actually, no, they're all on outlaps, I should say. FRD Harvey is the one leading that, followed by Slash, who's invalidated his first 2 runs. So, unfortunate so far for IRT, but I'm sure definitely with his pace he can definitely get back into the running for qualifications. FRT Harvey has begun his lap going into the first corner now. Got a couple of drivers possibly impeding him as he comes out of the pits, but not too much to worry about for Harvey. Goes through into these S's actually. Have to be on the limit through here, make sure of course not to have any mistakes. We've seen loads of drivers so far invalidate through her and spin as well through her, but for FRT Harvey's been keeping it nice and consistent now going into the 2nd sector here. Comes across the crest of the hill and now going into this hairpin to the left now onto straight just behind him ML Slash as well, who's also on a lap, but I think it's best if we focus on Harvey now coming towards the end of the straight now bricks just before the 100-meter ball. That's definitely what the best place to break there is. It's a purple sector too, and it's a really good sector for FRT Harvey. It's a 1:05 now going through technical little section, very weavy, and of course low speed as well. We've got to make sure keep your minimum speed as much as you possibly can now through this flat out series of right handers. Now going through the final corners. What lap time is it going to be?
Well, yeah, it's looking like a really decent lap time. Improving like 2 tenths on his teammate. Where can he go? He can't quite manage to the top of the timesheets, but a decent lap time there. ML Slash goes up into 5th, so not bad for him as he takes himself up nicely. I believe Wards, who was the other driver, it wasn't Ward, sorry, Aaron, who was the other driver on a hot lap. He's got time to get a change of tyres and go out again. But now the final run's beginning to get underway for a couple of drivers. Trying to figure out who the lead driver is, who's on a hot lap at the moment. It may be who is it actually? Supply Raptor, I believe, is beginning a hot lap now. So I believe ILD Max could possibly be the lead car Actually, I think
invalidated.
Wards is the lead car on a flying lap at the moment as he's going through Sector 2. And yes, obviously, we've got Supply Raptor, who's also on a lap at the moment, I believe. I'm not sure if he's pushing on with that. Wards is invalidated as well. Supply Raptor, what are they doing? Not improving in Sector 1, but not far off of the pace that they'd be looking for. So, this is a man to undoubtedly watch. Could take himself into the 1 minute 29s if he has a good Sector 2 and 3 here. He's not far from that first sector. And now the other two sectors to contend with here is that Sector 2 timing line is there. He's improving by, exactly the margin he needs to go into the 1 minute 29s. He's improving by exactly 1.17 tenths. So he could be about to get himself into that 1 minute 29 window as he rounds the final couple of corners here. Goes wide there at the final bend and will peel into the pit lane. I don't think he's got time to change those tyres though, unfortunately. Supply Raptor, that is it. Qualifying done and dusted. Not got enough time to get into the garage and change those tyres.
Absolutely. Both NLR boys have now come out of the pits, of which Ryan, I think, is the leading car out of those, but still few drivers still in the pits. I'm not sure if they will be able to come out in time, but yeah, I think FRT should be pretty happy with their laps as Harvey retires, and so does his teammate of Supply Raptor. So I think that's pretty much qualification secured for the FRT boys. So congratulations to them, but we've still got a couple of drivers still yet to come out of the pits. That includes Slash and Max. I think Slash has just come out of the pits as Woods is also retired for some reason, which I wasn't really expecting.
I don't think he was on the track, if I remember rightly. He was in the pit lane, so no point hanging about for no reason. But NLR Ryan is not hanging about for any reason, for a different circumstance. He wants to set the best lap time he can. He's going through Sector 1 now. What can he go? What can he do on his final attempt? He's half a tenth down there through that Sector 1 timing line, but just because you're down there does not mean that is it. That's the end of the lap. Throw the towel in. Because there's Sector 2 and 3, both of which provide valuable opportunities to find time. That tricky technical hairpin there onto this long straight is a good opportunity to find some time. And then also this corner and hairpin right at the end of this straight as well. Another great opportunity in the S section here. The snaking kind of section here in this Sector 3 as well. A good opportunity to find even more time, and it's a good improvement on time for NLR Ryan, who could be about to take P1 away from Supply Raptor here. He's making a good improvement there through Sector 2, now into Sector 3, and that really long right-hander that we have seen all too many times tonight, and a familiar corner for these drivers. They've done hundreds of laps here over practicing for not just this competition, but many others as well. Around the final bend for Ryan, it feels like absolute clockwork. It is absolute clockwork as he takes himself to the top of the timesheets with a brilliant lap time here. But what can NLR Spicer do? His teammate could be about to spoil his party as he is green sector 1, green sector 2, a rear end slide on the final sector. Can't improve by enough to challenge his teammate now. Who's next to come across the line? It looks like it's going to be Dornax next across the line. I'm not sure if he's improving by enough, but if he is, he's undoubtedly going to make a could possibly make a position up there, as now just a couple of cars left across the line. Dornax up to that line, improves by 2.5 tenths. That's not bad at all. The Alpine of Aaron there doesn't improve, but doesn't gain time. And then IRT Sabuka there, who I believe didn't gain time either. But FRT, NLR, both pretty much guaranteed qualifying there. And you've got to say, ML Slash, Dornax as well, probably done enough for their team there as well, I would have thought.
It will definitely be on the cusp for them, but I think it is going to be just about enough, as they need an average currently of 8.5, I believe, to be able to be ahead of FGE, and I think that is exactly what they've done. So But yeah, that is NLR. I think guaranteed qualification, same with FRT, but very good qualifying session, Byron. What do you make of it?
I mean, it's always difficult, right? Qualifying is our first port of call to figure out who's hot and who's not, especially in a normal racing scenario. But I think today, really, I think the standout team, actually, surprisingly for me, might have to be Bunga Racing Team and FRT, both of which I've not seen much, so I don't know much about either of them. But third and fourth in qualifying, that's really strong for both of them. So that is really really solid, and I think they'll take that away very happy.
Absolutely, I do have the final results here on my phone. So, ETA, of course, auto qualifying, and first in that qualifying session was Team Shazoo, followed by TF10, then BRT came in third, FRT, then NLR, Aversio, then IRT, then OVR and AMR. AMR just managed to sneak in just ahead of FGE. So FGE will be the first reserves in case a team does, in fact, pull out mid-season. But that is your qualifying night, ladies and gentlemen. Hope you enjoyed it.
I was going to say, it's been a pretty crazy qualifying night. I'm just looking at teams that didn't make it. ILD, they'll be disappointed. They've been in the championship in the past. It's disappointing they're not here and not made it. Just a movement there that doesn't affect anything. I'm not quite sure what that movement was. I think a lap time was just inputted incorrectly. It doesn't change positions in terms of who gets through and who doesn't. But really interesting IOD not making that. I feel like they should have. And maybe a bit disappointing for them. But Shazoo, exactly where we expected them. TF10, again, exactly where we expected them. NLR, pretty much there in the mix where they should be. FRT, BRT, they were my standout surprises just because I didn't know much about them. But then OVR, familiar face. EVE, same familiar face. AMR, stellar job from them. And then IRT. So pretty much, 10 teams could have put a good point and case forward for a lot of these teams getting through, but not everyone can. And, there were a few teams that averaged in the 1 minute 31s, and they would have pretty much known that it was game over there and then. But the cut-off time was a 1 minute 30.42. So that is a really, really fast lap time. But 0.6 the difference between the average from the best team and the last team that qualified. So very interesting to kind of see, but familiar faces.
Absolutely. Quite a shocker. AMR managing to qualify on both PC and console this season. Team I haven't really seen much of, but they managed to sneak in. RT also managing to just about sneak in just above FGE, only a tenth faster than them on average, but very, very, very good. And it's looking like a very good season for Season 5. And I hope you stick around to watch the entire season. And I hope you enjoy it as much as we will.
Absolutely, and just as a little bit of a summary as to what is to come, we will have a couple of weeks off here, but we will be beginning on December 7th here on PC and December 8th for console. For round 1, Australia down under for the first time this season. Then Spain, Brazil, Bahrain, and mystery round Austria. In there we do have our Christmas break, and we also then have Mexico, Singapore, then we have China, another mystery GP, Saudi Arabia, and then Abu Dhabi to round off our season. So an exciting 12-race season still to come, but qualifying done and dusted. 10 teams will line up on the grid on December 7th and 8th for PC and console for the very first time, but we will be taking a little bit of a break now between now and when that does happen. But until we return in Season 5, it gets underway down under in Australia. I promise we won't be upside down, but no promises can always be upheld on that one. I am known to somehow make myself upside down very randomly. But until next time, when Competitive Speed Series returns and Season 5 begins in Australia. Bye-bye.